Orthographic projection. Orthographic projection is used in engineering for drawing components, in schools for making plans of objects and measuring distances accurately, in architecture to show the front and side and plan elevations of a building. Orthographic views usually take the format of three individual views: a front view, a side view and a top view. The names can be moved around a little bit, and sometimes the top view is called a plan. If you take a normal domestic product like this radio, then if you're drawing it isometrically, you would draw it with this corner facing you, and you would draw the front view, the end view and the plan view all in one drawing. However, if we're going to draw it orthographically, we need to split it into three different views. The first view is the front view, and that is usually the one that shows you the most detail. So you would look at the object square on, a bit like we're doing here. You can then sketch that on your paper. You're reminded that I'm using pen so that the sketch shows up on film. So there is my completed view. I've included details like the wood down the side, the button layout and the layout of the speaker grill and the little rubber feet on the bottom. Next we're going to look at the plan view. So we're going to move our view so that we look from the top of the object, and we're going to draw what we see. We can draw what we see on our paper because at the moment we're just drawing the views individually. They eventually need to be set out in quite a well-organised manner. You can see I put quite a bit of detail, including the curve that the speaker has, the control knob, the buttons and the little step out that the main fascia has. And when you look at the real object, you can see that the curve is here and does show, and the little step is here and the control knob is down here. So I'm copying exactly the way that the product looks when I look down on it. Next, we're going to look at the end view. So we come back to the front view and then we turn it round to the end that has the most interest. So that has a handle and some wood grain. There's the front view again. And that is exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter which end view we do. Tend to do the left hand end. So there's a handle which you can see and the wood grain. And then we're going to go and draw that. So here is our end view. We've got the little control on the back, or the little column on the back to mount the aerial on. We've got the handle and the control button, as well as the little rubber feet again. These three drawings represent three different views of the same product, but unless they're organised properly, they're a little bit useless. They really need to be organised so that they're in the same scale and they line up together. So this height here should be the same as this height here, and the length here to here should match the length here to here. So if they're not drawn to the same scale, they need to be. So you're going to now redraw these rough outline drawings using a ruler as a guide, but you're going to lay them out correctly. Start by drawing yourself a baseline. And then draw yourself a vertical line that will go up the side of one of your front views. So I'm going to draw my vertical line there. Then sketch your front view. I'll put the detail on. So there's my completed front view. Next, we're going to deal with the plan view. So we're going to take the essential width off the end of the view there, and then we're going to draw ourselves a baseline. If we use the ruler as a width marker, we can then put our baseline there. decide how wide you're going to make your unit. So I'm going to make my unit in proportion about that wide. You notice at the moment I'm not formally putting any sizes, I'm just getting a layout. And then you're going to sketch the view. If I take my handle is going to pause across there, and my handle is going to pause across there. And my handle on the real object is in the middle. So I can draw that in the middle. So the middle is there. So I can draw my handle quite neatly in the middle, there. Next, I'm going to draw my control knob. My control knob is here. It sticks out about that far. I can actually take the width of that off here and I can make my control knob fit there. Lastly, the speaker is between here and here, and when you look down on it, it has a shallow curve on it. So I'm going to draw my shallow curve. Also, we know from the rear view there are two little lumps sticking out the back, which I can now put on the back that used to support the aerial. So there's my plan view, and I've already completed my front view. The side or the end view is just as easy. You use the ruler again to mark the width. But this time you extend that line up a little bit. So you've got a line that runs up to here. The baseline of your plan view you need to connect together, because that's going to give you a very useful measuring device. You want to then put a line from this point in this corner approximately at 45 degrees. If you don't know 45 degrees and you use your thumb, it should give you a reasonable estimate as to 45 degrees. And you're going to put a 45 degree line in there, like that. You can actually then create this view purely from the sizes that you've got here and the sizes you've got here. So the height of the object will obviously come off your plan view here and will go across there. The width of your object will come across from here and will drop down. So there is our basic box for our end view. All the other measurements can come off that height. So we can use the height of the handle and we can use the thickness of the handle. And we can actually drop that thickness down onto there. So you can see that we're starting to create our end view. Here is the completed view. So the end view here has been constructed using the height of the handle taken across here, the height of the feet taken across here, the height of the distance that this sticks out from the back has been taken across here and taken down here. This height here has to be measured or estimated. Now you've got a proper formal layout with a plan and a front view and an end view, and all the three views linked together. They're of use. They can now be used. You would then use a ruler and physically measure the object and draw it up properly. You would then draw it formally. I've measured my box and it's 22 centimetres long. So I've drawn my box half size. So this is 11 centimetres long, and if it is 13 high, mine is 6.5 centimetres high. So this front surface here is going to fit in this box here and is going to be half scale size. You can see I've already put the front view in, and I've got the space for the end and the space for the plan. So if I measure my width is 10, so my width here would need to be 5. So I would mark my 5 position. I would use my set square to actually put my shape in there, and I'd put extra lead lines. So that bit there is going to be my end view, and this bit here I would need to put a 45-degree line on here, and I can then literally join those round the top there. And if I then complete the box that my plan view is going to go on, I should find that that is also 5 centimeters wide, and it is. I've now got my plan view box, my front view box, and my end view box. Because I've drawn this approximately to scale, half size, I could then actually continue to measure all the objects. So I could measure, for instance, the distance that the handle sits up and measure that distance. I could measure the width of the handle, how far out the control knob sticks out, the diameter of the control knob, and all of those could actually be drawn on, even the positioning. So my control knob centre is 6 centimeters away from my end, so it would be 3 centimeters in, and it is 4 centimeters up, so it would be 2 centimeters up. So my circle would circle on that centre there. Equally so, if my control knob is 3 centimeters wide, it's going to be 1.5 centimeters in height, in width, so I would mark on 1.5 centimeters. Again, when it came to putting my control knob on the top section, I can use my set square and actually put my control knob on there so that it comes out about 0.5 centimeter. Now, gradually, once you've got the basics done, you can start to sketch in the basic details, but you could actually make a really formal drawing like that. So this is a formal drawing that someone's done of the isometric view on the left-hand side here. And they've drawn a front view, an end view, and a plan view. But they've used these sizes to actually make sure that this plan matches the sizes that are on here. This is an old engineering drawing. It's so old that it's measured in inches, so this is 3 inches. But even so, a person making this could come and physically measure this and actually know how deep to make this hole and how big this little chamfer would be and how deep this flange would be. All the sizes that are on here are accurate because they're square to the shape. They're not measuring along a slope. So here is the finished orthographic projection drawing drawn to half-size scale. You can see that the features line up, so this control knob here lines up with this control knob, and it also lines up with this control knob. Likewise, the size of the handle matches the size of the handle. The height of the handle matches the height of the handle. It's very important that these match. So that drawing's been drawn to scale of a half size, and that's been taken from our sketch of that size, which has been taken from our basic observation drawings, which are just rough outline drawings. Your task is to make some observational drawings like these, looking at the 3 objects from the front, the side and the end. Then draw out a rough sketch a little bit like this. And then if you want to really impress, you can try and draw them using a ruler, reasonably to scale, but certainly lined up so that the edges of your product line up. You may not necessarily want to do all the detail necessarily to exact scale, but they should be in the approximate position. So I found the centre of my control knob here, but I then did just use my ruler to guesstimate where the rest of the shape was. And that is how you do orthographic drawing.